Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to talk to you about something very interesting, which is four habits or four, let's make it five. Five habits or five things that can eventually make you bankrupt, whether you're an associate dentist or a practice owner as well. First, for credibility, my name is Khaled. I have been a dentist for 20 years. I own and run my own dental practice, Lakeside Dental Spa in Harvey Bay. And I took my practice from over the course of 14 years from 1 chair to 10 chairs. We started with a team of 3 staff members. Now we are a team of 40 staff members. Firstly, as a disclaimer, what I'm going to share with you today is based on my own experiences and things that I've witnessed myself. So it's not based on any studies or any research. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know any studies on the topics I'm going to discuss. I'm purely just giving you my thoughts on those problems. And of course, if it makes sense to you, it's great. If it doesn't make sense to you, you can just simply ignore the video. I have seen dentists who went bankrupt before, and I have seen practice owners who lost their practice into bankruptcy as well. And the examples that I've witnessed myself from dentists that either I know or I came across, probably I can summarize it in 5 different things that happened to them. So the first problem is uncontrolled drug addiction. Uncontrolled drug addiction, so whether it's substance abuse, prescription, non-prescription, weed, marijuana, cocaine, more heavier drugs, those drugs eventually will affect your dentistry, will affect your judgment, will affect on how you treat patients. And whether you think you are in control, eventually it can become uncontrolled. And if you're not seeking treatment, it can eventually affect you, and you can lose your job if you're an associate. You can struggle to find another job. You can lose your license if you get reported and you've been tested. And also, eventually, you can lose your practice or your business, because you're not going to focus on your business. You're going to be spending a lot of money. You're not going to be making enough money, and eventually, you will start losing awareness of how you're running your practice. Second thing is uncontrolled alcohol addiction as well. If your dentist is alcoholic as well and they're not seeking treatment for that, it will affect their dentistry, it will affect their judgment, it will impair how they practice as well, and it will lead to eventually losing their practice and losing their license as well over that. Uncontrolled gambling. So I'm not talking about like someone who's playing poker, going to tournaments. I'm talking about uncontrolled gambling. And I've seen a dentist myself who was at a stage where they basically just spent everything they owned. They lost their practice, they lost their job, and they just couldn't maintain anything. Even they lost their family during the situation. So uncontrolled gambling can eventually affect your life, not just your dentistry. The fourth example I've seen as well is someone getting scammed into a practice ownership. It's very rare, and it's also very rare even to lose the practice over it. But I've seen it happening where a dentist will sign a contract to buy a practice, and the practice who sold this practice to a new dentist, for example, usually would be setting up another practice somewhere else, or taking a lot of the goodwill with them, or basically there was all the numbers and the figures involving the practice on the goodwill of the practice, like the production, the collections, how they finance their patients, are all like made up. And the new owner will take over the practice and realize the practice is empty, there are no patients. They can't just make enough money to survive, and eventually they will be bankrupt and lose the business and go and work as an associate somewhere else. I've seen this happening once, probably twice, with different situations without getting into details, but this can happen as well if you don't do your proper due diligence before buying a practice from someone, or even if you opening a practice from scratch in a highly competitive area. This can eventually affect this as well. Probably the last example is divorce, especially if you or separation of partnerships. So if you're in a relationship with another party, whether you're a male or a female, and let's assume you're a practice owner, you have your own practice, practice is very successful, very productive, very good asset, and you bring into your life someone else, and you start a relationship, whether it's de facto or a marriage. And then the other party, they come into the relationship with not much assets or very minimal assets. It's a risk. I've seen dentists losing their own business because of that, where after a certain number of years, let's say 2 or 3 years, the other parties decide to go file for divorce or separate. And through legal pathways, they can be entitled to a portion of this business or sometimes a larger portion as well. So I've seen it happening before, where practice owners can lose their business because of that. How to avoid it? It's hard to avoid, of course, if you avoid getting married or getting into a relationship, but probably getting a proper legal advice. But it's a risk that you need to be aware of. If you're aware of other risks, please share them with me. It will be great to learn about them. If you find this information helpful, make sure you like and share it with your friends and colleagues. If you'd like to hear more of my videos, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for listening, and it means a lot to me.